Brilliance Audio presents Brotherhood in Death by J.D. Robb, performed by Susan Erickson. After a long, tedious day, the first half spent in court, the second half with paperwork, Lieutenant Eve Dallas prepared to shut it all down. At the moment, all she wanted out of life was a quiet evening with her husband, her cat, and a glass or two of wine. Maybe a vid, she thought as she grabbed her coat, if Rourke hadn't brought too much work home. Tonight, do the happy time boogie, she was bringing home none of her own. She could extend that wish list, she decided, as she dug out the scarf her partner had made her for Christmas. Maybe a swim and pool sex. She figured no matter how many deals Rourke needed to wheel, he could always be talked into pool sex. She found the silly snowflake cap in another pocket of her long leather coat. Since the sky was heaving down ice, she tugged it on. She'd sent her partner home, had a couple of detectives out in the cold, working a hot. They'd contact her if they needed her. She reminded herself she had another detective, newly minted, whose induction ceremony was slated for the next morning. But right now, on a particularly ugly January evening, she had nothing on her plate. Spaghetti and meatballs, she decided. That's what she wanted on her plate. Maybe she'd beat Rourke home and actually put that together for both of them. With wine, a couple candles. Right down in the pool area. No, she corrected as she started out. Maybe at the dining room table, like grown-ups, with a fire going. She could program a couple of salads, use a couple of his half-a-zillion fancy plates. And while the ice snapped and crackled outside, they'd... Eve! She turned, spotted Mira, the department shrink and top profiler, all but leaping off a glide and rushing toward her, pale blue coat flying open over her deep pink suit. "You're still here, thank God." "Just leaving. What's the deal? What's wrong?" "I'm not sure. Dennis." Instinctively, Eve reached up to touch the snowflake hat. One Dennis Mira had snugged down on her head in his kind way on a snowy day in the last weeks of 2060. "Is he hurt?" "I don't think so." The normally unflappable Mira linked her fingers together to keep them still. "He wasn't clear. He was upset. He said his cousin's hurt, and now is missing. He asked for you, specifically. I'm sorry to spring this on you, but don't worry about it. Is he home? At your place?" She had already turned away, called for the elevator. "No, he's at his grandparents', what was their home, in Soho." "You're with me." She steered Mira into the elevator, crowded with cops going off shift. "I'll make sure you both get home." "Who's his cousin?" "Ah, Edward Mira, former Senator Edward Mira." "Didn't vote for him." "Neither did I. I need a moment to gather my thoughts, and I want to let him know we're coming." As Mira took out her link, Eve organized her own thoughts. She didn't know or care much about politics, but she had a vague image of Senator Edward Mira. She'd never have put the bombastic, hardline senator, sharp black eyebrows, close-cropped black hair, hard and handsome face, on the same family tree as the sweet, slightly fuddled Dennis Mira. But family made strange bedfellows. Or was that politics? Didn't matter. When they reached her level in the garage, she pointed toward her slot, strode to the unremarkable-looking DLE her husband had designed for her. Mira hurried after her, hampered by spike-heeled boots and shorter legs. Eve moved fast. Sturdy boots and long legs, slid behind the wheel. A tall, leanly built woman with choppy brown hair, currently under a watch cap, with a sparkling snowflake emblem she, copped to the bone, wore because it had been an impromptu gift given by a man she had a helpless, harmless crush on.